So general pharmacology, as you all must have known by right now, that pharmacology deals with the study of drugs. Okay, so it deals with the study of drugs. So what are the different topics which you will be taught by me as a general pharmacology teacher? That I will be covering with the introductory. Today is the introductory lecture where I will be talking about what drug is, what is the nomenclature, how we name the drugs, what are the different methods of naming of drugs, then what are the different source and how the drugs came into existence. Then I will be talking about the routes of drug administration, what are the different dosage forms. Then two very important aspects of pharmacology are the pharmacokinetics and the pharmacodynamics. Pharmacokinetics will cover up the drug absorption, its distribution, metabolism, and excretion. So it is ADME: absorption, distribution, metabolism, excretion. So what pharmacokinetics is it is the thing which the body with the recipient do to the drug. After we take a drug, suppose we swallow a tablet. Okay, अगर आपने कभी tablet खाई हो, so you must know that after swallowing it, what will happen to the drug, how the effect will come. So first of all, there will be absorption from our GIT. The drug will be absorbed. It will reach the blood. Then it will reach to the site of action. Okay, so that absorption is first part. Then it gets distributed in the body. So that phase is the distribution phase. And after the drug has produced its effect, the drug gets metabolized. So after metabolism, then the drug will be excreted out from the body. Otherwise, the effect of the drug will continue to come. So these are the steps what the body is going to do with the drug. That is the pharmacokinetics. Then the other step is the pharmacodynamics. So pharmacodynamics deals with what? What is the mode of action of the drug? How the drug is going to act in our body, or how the drug is going to produce its benefit to the recipients. Then after the pharmacodynamics, we have to look for the drug safety or the adverse drug reaction, what the side effects of the drugs are. Then there are certain factors in the body and the environment which are going to modify the effect of action of the drug. So we have to consider those factors also while we are prescribing or while we are going to give certain drug to a patient. Then there are certain miscellaneous topics also. So these are the topics which I am going to cover you in your next 12 lectures of general pharmacology. And after that, you will be started with the systemic lectures of systemic drugs. So one by one, you will be taught about the drugs which are effective in the different other organ systems. So today's lecture is first, that is the general introduction of pharmacology. So today I am going to tell you what the definition of pharmacology is, what are the different branches of pharmacology, what is drug, how drugs are named, what are the different sources. So the rest three parts, that is the drug information, essential drug and orphan drug, and routes of drug administration. These three things I am going to take it tomorrow. And up to here, sources of drugs, these first four parts that I will be covering today. So as you all have known that pharmacology is derived from two words, Greek words. One is pharmakon, which means drug, and logos means science. So the scientific study of drug is known as pharmacology. So pharmacology will be dealing with all the fate and action of a drug at various levels, whether it is molecular, cellular, organ, and whole body. So all these systems that affect, which are going to be affected by the drug, that will be dealt in the topic that is pharmacology. So what are the different objects which you are required to know in pharmacology are, if I say a drug, about a drug, so what are the different aspects about which you should know? So when I will be talking about a drug, or when you are asked to know, tell about a drug, you should know the pharmacodynamics of the drug. that how the drug is going to act in the body. That is the first and the foremost part. Then then you have to know what the pharmacokinetics is, how the body is going to act on that drug. So based on this, that how the body is going to act on the drug, you can know how long the drug will be effective, where the drug will be effective, or what are the different factors which are going to affect its duration of action, or its action, how it is going to affect, what are the different sites where the drug will act. So that will be governed by the pharmacokinetics of the drug. Then the third part, which is very important, that you should know the drug indication. Suppose I tell you about a drug that is aspirin. So if I am talking about aspirin or a paracetamol, suppose you must have taken paracetamol, most 100% of you must have had fever, and then you have taken paracetamol. So you should know that paracetamol, a tablet, 500 milligram of paracetamol or 650 milligram of paracetamol in an adult is being given, then you should know that it is being given for fever. Okay, so as to reduce the temperature. So that is the indication of paracetamol, where you are going to use, or what disease condition or what the patient is having, then you are going to give the drug. Then you have to know about the fourth point, that is drug interactions. That means how the drug interacts. If you give 2 or 3 drugs at a time, so how the drugs will interact among themselves. There can be a summative effect, there can be an antagonistic effect. Two drugs can increase each other's effect, or two drugs can inhibit each other's effect. So you should know, because when you are prescribing, it may happen that the patient is not taking a single drug, he or she is taking multiple drugs, or there can be interaction of the drug with the food. Okay, food also interacts with the drug. The food can increase the absorption. Certain food increases the absorption. Like if we take chloroquine with fatty meals, the absorption will increase. Then there are certain drugs, if they are taken along with food, the absorption decreases. So likewise, the effect is going to vary. So then we have to know about the last part, that is the adverse effects of the drug. So these are the different objects which you are required to know while we are going to talk about the pharmacology of a particular drug. So pharmacodynamics deals with the action and mechanism of the effect of the drug. Pharmacokinetics will deal with the absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion. So when we take a drug, suppose we have taken a drug orally. So what will happen in the body? The drug will undergo absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion. So if we draw a plasma concentration and time axis, okay, we draw a graph. After the intake of the tablet, slowly the concentration after absorption that will increase in the blood. Okay, then there will be metabolism. The drug will be destroyed, or that drug will be degraded and will be excreted out from the body. Okay, so there is certain concentration in the plasma at which the drug will be effective, and that concentration part is known as the therapeutic range. That means a lower and a higher range during which the drug will be effective. That is the therapeutic range. And if this therapeutic range, if the absorption is too high, so there can be toxicity, or too much of the drug is there in the body, so toxicity can happen. So pharmacodynamics will tell you about the mechanism of drug action, pharmacological effects, whether it is therapeutic effect or the toxic effects, this the pharmacodynamics will explain it. So, what are the other subdivisions of pharmacology? First is the pharmacogenomics. It deals with the study of the genetic influences of effectiveness and fate of drugs. Suppose two persons are taking a particular same drug. It can happen that the effect of drug comes in one earlier and the effect of the same drug comes later, or no effect comes in the other person. So why these variations are there in between two persons? It may be that there are certain genetic differences. No two persons are completely identical. There are certain genetic variations among people. So this branch, genomics, studies about what genetic differences are going to produce different effect or fate or metabolism of drug. So that branch is pharmacogenomics. Then the other branch is toxicology. Toxicology deals with the study of the toxic effect or the adverse effect of drugs and other chemicals. Then there are therapeutics. If we talk about therapeutics, that means the medical treatment of a disease or a condition. So therapeutics deals with the medical treatment of disease. And when we tell chemotherapy, so chemotherapy deals with the treatment of infection or malignancy with specific drugs, which are having a selective toxicity or are going to harm the infecting organism or malignant cells, and they are not going to harm the host cells. Suppose we are taking a certain drug for any bacterial infection or a viral infection in our body, like you know that COVID is caused by a virus. Okay. Yeah. So if we are taking a certain antiviral drug which are going to kill those virus, they are known as chemotherapy. Okay, those drugs are known as chemotherapy because what they are going to do, they are going to kill the particular virus or bacteria from our body, but they are not going to harm our host cells or our body. So those drugs which are preferentially going to inhibit these infective organisms, they are termed as chemotherapy. Then the other subdivision is pharmacoeconomics. It is very important as it compares the value of one pharmaceutical drug or therapy to other. Suppose we are having two different type of or management system for a particular disease involving certain drugs. So we should know which drug is more effective. One thing. Then we should also know which drug is cost-wise more effective. So this branch compares which is cheaper and which is costlier. So we have to prefer for the cheaper and the cost-effective therapy. So that thing comes in the pharmacoeconomics. Then we have the pharmacoepidemiology, which studies the use and effect of drug in large number of people. So in a larger population or in the epidemiological studies of drugs are known as pharmacoepidemiology. Then other branch is the pharmacognosy, which deals with the study of the effect of various plants and minerals on the body. And ecopharmacology deals with the environmental effect of our drugs which comes out in the stool or the urine or which are dumped in the environment, what these drugs are going to how they are going to affect, or what are the effects of these drugs on the flora and the fauna of our environment. That is dealt in ecopharmacology. Then one very interesting subdivision of pharmacology is chronopharmacology. For you as an undergraduate, you are required only to know at least what these terminologies are. Okay, nothing much more deeper you are required. That is meant for the postgraduate people. So, but at least you should know what this terminology is. So, this chronopharmacology, what it does, it deals with the study of the drugs based on the circadian rhythm. Okay, like if if I ask you when will be the corticosteroid secreted maximum in our body? what will be the phase or what the timing during a day will be when we will be having maximum secretion of corticosteroids in our body. So that will be early in the morning, because corticosteroids, they are a fighting type of hormone. So what they will do, they are anti-stress hormones. Okay, so they are secreted early in the morning so that we can cope up with the stress which we are going to face during the daytime. So they are secreted early in the morning. So if suppose a person is having lower level of corticosteroids and we have to administer corticosteroids, so what will be the time of the day when we are going to administer that particular corticosteroid? So that will be early in the morning. After waking up, we have to take that corticosteroid tablet. So that is what chronopharmacology is all about. Chronopharmacology, based on our own body cycle, we are going to administer drug, or we, based on those studies, we are going to modify our drugs in such a way that it matches our natural physical physiological body system. That is chronopharmacology. So coming to the drug has been derived from a French word, and it means dry herb. And it was Paracelsus, who is the father of toxicology, a Swedish physician. He said that all things are poison, and nothing is without poison. Only the dose makes a thing not a poison. So what the dose will make a thing a drug or a poison. So, as per the Sir William Osler, one of the features which is thought to distinguish man from other animals is his desire to take medicine. Man takes medicine, but not the animals. So, the older definition of the drug was the drug is a chemical substance used for the treatment, cure, prevention, or diagnosis of a disease in human being or animals. So from this definition, you will find a flaw was there. Okay, one lapse was there. That if a oral contraceptive pill is being taken by a female to prevent pregnancy, so that oral contraceptive pill, will we call it a drug or not? So that is a drug, but is the patient disease is having a disease? No, that is being taken by a perfectly normal female. She is not having any disease, but she is taking it so as to have a to prevent contraception. So there was modification in this older definition of drug, and WHO came with a new definition that any substance or product that is used or intended to be used to modify and explore physiological systems, so that uh, physiological system for OCP is the what oral contraceptive pills will do. It will modify the physiological actions of the gonadotropins, and that is how they are preventing the contraception. So the drug can modify the physiological system as well as the pathological states for the benefit of the recipient. So this definition includes all those drugs which are going to modify whether it is the physiological system or the pathological system. So it will modify in both the healthy as well as the unhealthy people. So whether the patient is having a disease or not, they are going to take certain drugs. So that is physiological, that is going to modify the physiological system, will also be known as drug. So are you people following it till now? Is it clear to you? Yes, anyone? If you are having any question, you can ask me. Okay, I will be continuing and taking up. If you are having any question, you can put it on the WhatsApp chat. Okay, there was. I will tell you a short story of how medicines evolved. Okay, so what happened if you are having a earache? So how medicine evolved in 2000 BC? if you had an earache, the people used to say that eat this root, eat this plant, like that. Then when you come in 1000 AD, root is hidden, say this prayer. So there started to develop, that people started to pray for certain cure. And if you see in 1850, it was that you say this prayer, it is superstition. So drink this potion. So they people started to make the certain extract of plants or animals and everything. Then they used to take that for the treatment of the disease. And when you come in the 1940s, the potion is snake oil. Okay, it contains certain oil. So what you are going, don't take this potion. So you take pills, you take tablets, you take some tablet form. By 1985, the pills became ineffective, and then came the era of the antibiotics. So you are going to take now the antibiotics. You take antibiotics. Then again now in our 2017-18, what happened? The antibiotics there are artificial. So again now we are returning back to the Ayurveda, the Siddha, the Unani medical systems, and more promotion of these systems are being there. So now again we are telling that you take certain preparations of the Unani or the Ayurvedic preparation, they are more effective or they are more free of side effects and like that. So all this history of medicine, it is reviving. So every time it is not static. So if we take a historical review of the different era, so earlier the cave human beings, they what they do, these ancient men, they learned the, from instinct, from the observation of birds and the beasts. So they learned how to cure by seeing the animals. And in the early the Babylonian civilization, if you see, this man is reciting some spiritual things, and then there are people. This man is taking out some oil or blood from the animal, and they are preparing this preparation and treating the patient. And then there came the ancient Chinese civilization. Here the people, they were more prone to use with the use of the herbal medicine system. So even today they are more using the herbal Chinese herbal medicines for the treatment of various disease conditions. And in the Egypt, it was Imhotep, and he wrote treatment for various disease conditions, including tuberculosis, malaria, and all. And then Hippocrates was also one of the renowned physician of his time, and we take the Hippocratic oath based on his name. And then other famous physicians of the previous of the past are the Galenius, the Avicenna, or the Ibn Sina, then the Paracelsus. So these scientists or the physicians, they have they wrote many manuscripts, and they have treated a lot number of patients with different disease conditions of that of their period. And it was William Withering. So what he from the foxglove or the Digitalis purpura, he isolated the digoxin, which was being used in heart failure patients, and it was Claude Adolphe and Nativella. And what these people do, they are isolated from digoxin, the digitoxin, which was also being used in the heart failure patient. So it was Saturn, and he was a very renowned physician. And what he did, he isolated opium from the Papaver somnifera, or the poppy plant. So what opium contained? Opium contained morphine, codeine, and papaver. These are the three main active ingredients which was isolated. So from the poppy plant, it was opium which was derived, and from opium, morphine was extracted, and this morphine is being used till now. For that, morphine is being used for pain, subsiding pain in the war timing, but because of the addiction and all those things, the rampant use has decreased now. Then you must have heard of cinchona, which was derived from South America. Two active ingredients which was isolated from the plant are the quinine or the quinine. From quinine, you must know that it was being used for the treatment of malaria, and quinidine is an antiarrhythmic drug. Then came the era of antibiotics, and it was Alexander Fleming who first derived penicillin from Penicillium notatum, and and there began the era of the antibiotics. What are antibiotics? Antibiotics are those drugs which are derived or synthesized from the bacteria. So if we take about the drug discovery, then from the 1920s, it was insulin and the vitamins which were discovered. In the 30s, modern anesthetics were discovered. In the 1940s, it was penicillins, and 1850 antihypertensive drugs. In the 1960s, neuroleptics came into existence, and 1970s it was proton pump inhibitors and the antihistaminics, and by 1980s, immunosuppressives and the antiviral drugs came into existence. And one very important plant, that is Rauwolfia serpentina. From these two important alkaloids were derived. One was admelin, which was used for cardiac elements, cardiac disease condition, and the other was reserpine. And reserpine was very important breakthrough for the treatment of hypertension. So reserpine is an anti-adrenergic drug, okay, and it was being used for the treatment of hypertension. Then it was Atropa belladonna, this plant from which atropine was derived. And atropine previously was being used for the treatment of Parkinson's disease in the 1920s in the Bulgaria by Ivan Reif. So later on, this atropine came into existence for the treatment of various other disease conditions. So, what are the different sources of drugs, or what are the different sources from where we can derive the drug? The drugs can be naturally derived from plants, like I have told you about the digoxin, atropine, and the quinine. They are all plant derivatives. Then there are certain drugs which are derived from animals, like insulin is derived from the pork or the beef. Then cod liver oil derived from the cod fish liver. Then there are certain minerals like iron, iodine, potassium salts, and then microorganisms such as penicillin from Penicillium notatum, chloramphenicol from the actinomycetes. So these are the natural derived drugs. Then there are the synthetic drugs which are prepared by chemical synthesis in pharmaceutical laboratories. And then there are semi-synthetic drugs, that means they are prepared from the chemical modification of the naturally derived, like ampicillin is derived from penicillin G. So it is the modification, ampicillin is the chemical modification of penicillin G, so as to overcome those factors which are going to inhibit the penicillin. Then we have the biosynthetic drugs, and these biosynthetic drugs are those drugs which are prepared by cloning of human DNA in bacteria like E. coli. So humulin, that is the human insulin or the human growth hormone, what they are derived? They are derived from the um, human. They are derived by cloning the human DNA in the bacteria. Oh, okay. So the next part is the different types of drug or the drug name. So the drugs are named in three ways. One is the chemical name, other is the generic name, and other is the company name or the trade name. So the first is the chemical name. Chemical name means the molecular or the scientific name, and the chemical or the it is based on the chemical structure of the drug. The problem with this nomenclature of a drug is that it is too long and difficult to remember. Suppose, but it is useful for the technically trained persons if we are going to tell. Aspirin is named as 2-acetoxybenzoic acid. So this is the chemical name of aspirin. Second is the generic name of a drug. So what happens with the generic name, that it is an approved or the non-proprietary name, but it came into existence when the producer collaborates with certain scientific nomenclature bodies such as WHO. In the WHO, it is International Non-Proprietary Name (INN) to classify these drugs generic name, and the USA USAN. So these scientific bodies, they act together with the producer so as to name a drug the generic name. The significance is that it removes the confusion of giving several names to the same drug. So aspirin, generic name is acetyl salicylic acid. Acetyl salicylic acid. So everyone will, if they are telling acetyl salicylic acid, it is aspirin. It is the same. Then you must have heard about the generic drugs. Generic drugs are identical drugs to the original manufactured drugs, and they have a very low cost, and they have active compounds which are somewhat similar to the branded compounds. But the disadvantage with the generic drugs is that they many a times we cannot manufacture the identical drugs, and a generic drug, to be effective as that of the original branded drug, is that the bioequivalence, that means that means the effect or the efficacy of the drug should be between 80 to 125% as that of the original drug. That means it should be within this range, otherwise we are not going to use a generic generic drug. Therefore, even different generic forms of same drugs can vary greatly. So these fluctuations in the effect or the efficacy, they are going to have impact on the effect on the patients also. And then we are not sure what areas are going to happen with these generic drugs. So there can be unlisted or unknown side effects. So these are a few side effect or few means shortcomings of the generic drugs. Then the third type of nomenclature is the trade name. So these are the proprietary or the brand name. They are given by the manufacturer and they are copyrighted. That means no other person can use the same name. Like if we are going to purchase aspirin from the market, we can get it by the name of Ecosprin, ASA, or algopyrene. So these names are different. These are the trade name. But what they will contain? They will contain acetyl salicylic acid. That is their generic name. Okay. So that is the difference between. So if we see paracetamol, it can come with the name of Calpol, it can come with the name of Corosine. That is the trade name. N-acetyl P-aminophenol. It is the chemical name. Similarly, ibuprofen, it comes with ibugesic, brufen, but this is the long chemical name. Similarly, if we see of azithromycin, it comes as by the trade name of Zithromax, Azithral, Azi, and this is the chemical name. If you see the chemical name, it is very difficult for you to remember. But the generic name remains constant. Okay. So if we see a tablet, this is a morphine sulfate tablet. So this morphine sulfate is the generic name. Okay, that means it is morphine. And Mylan is the brand name. The morphine comes with other names also. Mylan is the brand name. So that's all for today. We will stop over here. And if you people are having any query, you can ask me in the WhatsApp chat box. There you can send me your queries. And if there are certain modifications which you require regarding this classes, if you want that I should be a bit slow, whether I was because this is your first class, so I am not interacting with you people straight face to face. So so that I can understand whether you are getting the things or you are not getting the things. So I can modify my teaching based on your requirement which you are with which you are comfortable. Okay, thank you very much.